Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going small, really small, like nanoscale, small, to explore something massive, and that's clean energy. Specifically, how nanostructures could revolutionize solar water splitting.
Oh,
We've got a 2017 research paper that's just packed with some really exciting science.
yeah.
So get ready to explore the power of the super small.
I think what's really cool about this paper is it doesn't just talk about clean energy in like a broad sense. It really zones in on the specifics of how we can make solar-driven water splitting
Right.
more efficient. And I think that's super crucial if we want to like really move away from fossil fuels and towards a hydrogen-based economy.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
We all know fossil fuels are a problem and that hydrogen is a promising alternative.
Right.
But how does solar water splitting actually work?
Yeah.
And where do these nanostructures fit in?
Well, at its core, solar water splitting is about using sunlight to break apart water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. And the challenge is to do this efficiently and affordably.
Right.
And that's where nanostructures come into play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are these nanostructures essentially functioning as like microscopic solar panels?
Yeah.
But instead of generating electricity, they're facilitating a chemical reaction.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
They act as either photoelectrodes, which are directly involved in the electrochemical reaction,
Okay.
or photocatalysts, which speed up the process.
Hmm.
And because they're engineered at the nanoscale, we're talking like a billionth of a meter here.
Wow.
They have a huge surface area relative to their volume,
Okay.
which makes them incredibly efficient at capturing sunlight.
So we've got these tiny structures capturing sunlight and helping to split water molecules.
Right.
But this paper mentions all sorts of different nanostructures, nanowires, nanoparticles, quantum dots, like the list goes on and on.
It does, yeah.
Are some more effective than others when it comes to solar water splitting?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something researchers are actively looking into. The shape and material of the nanostructure play a huge role in its efficiency.
Okay.
For example, the paper highlights the use of copper oxide nanostructures on a transparent material called ITO,
Okay.
forming what's known as a photocathode.
Hold on what?
Photocathode.
Can you break that down for me?
Yeah, sure.
A photocathode is basically a surface that emits electrons when light hits it.
Okay.
In this case, the copper oxide nanostructures on the ITO surface absorb light energy and use it to split those water molecules.
Okay.
Think of it like a tiny solar-powered water splitting factory.
I love that.
Yeah.
But why copper oxide specifically?
Okay.
Are there other materials that could be used?
There are.
Okay.
And the research paper actually provides a good overview of the different materials being explored, but copper oxide has some specific properties that make it well suited for this application.
Okay.
Remember, it takes a minimum of 1.23 electron volts, or EV, to break apart a water molecule.
Copper oxide happens to have a band gap, which is essentially the amount of energy required to excite an electron of 1.34 EV.
So it's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Copper oxide has just the right amount of energy to do the job efficiently.
Exactly. It can absorb enough energy from sunlight to split the water molecules without wasting too much energy in the process.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
But it can't be as simple as just slapping some copper oxide on a surface and calling it a day, right?
Oh, no.
What are some of the challenges that researchers are facing in making this technology work?
You're absolutely right. One of the key challenges is efficiency.
Right.
While the copper oxide photocathode shows promise, there's still a long way to go before this technology can compete with traditional energy sources.
Okay.
And scaling up production to meet global energy demands is another hurdle.
So how are researchers tackling these challenges? The paper mentions a bunch of different techniques like flame synthesis and something called capillary photoelectrochemical water splitting. What do those even mean?
Well, each technique has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And researchers are constantly refining them to improve the efficiency and scalability of solar water splitting.
Okay.
Let's start with flame synthesis, which is a fascinating way to create nanoparticles with specific properties.
It sounds like a high-tech blacksmith's forge for nanoparticles.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially, you use a flame to create a controlled environment where you can synthesize nanoparticles with precise sizes and compositions.
Okay.
This level of control is crucial because the properties of a nanoparticle, and therefore its effectiveness in solar water splitting, are highly dependent on its size and shape.
Okay, so flame synthesis is all about precision and control.
Yes.
What about this capillary photoelectrochemical water splitting technique?
Right.
That one sounds a little bit more complex.
It is, but the core idea is surprisingly intuitive.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about nanostructures acting as tiny antennas capturing sunlight? Well, in capillary photoelectrochemical water splitting, you create a network of interconnected capillaries that act as even more efficient light traps.
Hmm.
Imagine a field of sunflowers all tilted towards the sun, capturing every last ray of light.
Okay.
That's kind of what's happening here at the nanoscale.
So it's like giving those tiny antennas an even bigger stage to perform on.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this enhanced light absorption translates to a significant boost in solar to hydrogen conversion efficiency.
Wow.
But it's not just about capturing more light. These capillary structures also help to separate the charges generated during the water splitting process, which
Okay.
further improves efficiency.
So that makes sense, but it sounds like there's a lot of delicate engineering involved.
Yeah.
Are there any other tricks researchers are using to improve the efficiency of these systems?
There are, and some of them focus on modifying the materials themselves.
Okay.
For example, the research paper mentions something called hydrogenated oxygen vacancies,
Wow.
which might sound a bit technical.
Just a bit, but I'm all ears laid on me.
All right, let's take titanium dioxide, a material commonly used in solar water splitting, as an example.
Okay.
By introducing what are essentially missing oxygen atoms filled with hydrogen, you can actually modify the electronic structure of the material and enhance its photocatalytic activity.
So we're talking about tweaking the material at the atomic level
Yeah.
to make it even better at splitting water molecules.
Exactly, and the results are pretty impressive.
Really?
Studies have shown that introducing these hydrogenated oxygen vacancies can significantly boost the efficiency of titanium dioxide in solar water splitting.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It sounds like researchers are really pulling out all the stops to make solar water splitting a viable clean energy solution.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away with all this cutting-edge science,
Yeah.
can we take a step back and talk about the big picture for a moment?
Yeah.
Why is all this research so important?
Yeah.
What's the end goal here?
That's a crucial question, and it's easy to lose sight of it amidst all the technical details.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal of all this research is to develop a clean, sustainable, and affordable way to produce hydrogen fuel.
Okay.
And that could have a profound impact on our world.
Right.
Hydrogen has the potential to revolutionize the way we power everything from cars and buses to homes and factories.
So we're not just talking about a cool science experiment. We're talking about potentially transforming our entire energy infrastructure.
Exactly. If we can successfully harness the power of nanotechnology to make solar water splitting a commercially viable technology, we could dramatically reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and mitigate the devastating effects of climate change.
That's a future I think we can all get behind.
Yes.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, we need to take a closer look at the challenges and the potential timeline for widespread adoption.
Right.
We'll do that when we come back after a quick break. Welcome back. Before the break, we were getting pretty excited about the potential of nanostructures for solar water splitting.
Yeah.
But we also touched on some of the challenges facing this technology.
Right.
What are some of the hurdles that researchers are working to overcome?
Well, we talked about efficiency and scalability, but there's another big one, and that's durability.
Yeah.
These nanostructures are operating in a pretty harsh environment, constantly exposed to sunlight and water and fluctuating temperatures over time that can cause them to degrade, which reduces their effectiveness.
So it's not just about creating these amazing nanostructures. It's about making sure they can last in the real world.
Exactly. Researchers are exploring things like protective coatings and new fabrication techniques to make these systems more robust.
It sounds like a lot of different scientific disciplines are coming together to tackle this problem.
Absolutely. You've got chemists, physicists, material scientists, engineers. They're all working together to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Which reminds me, we were talking about those different techniques for creating nanostructures before the break.
Right.
You mentioned flame synthesis and capillary photoelectrochemical water splitting.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through those in a bit more detail? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each approach?
So flame synthesis is great for creating nanoparticles with really specific properties.
Okay.
You essentially use a flame to control the size and composition of the particles, which is crucial for optimizing their performance in solar water splitting.
Okay.
It's a versatile method, but scaling it up for mass production can be a challenge.
So it's like a high-tech artisan workshop for nanoparticles.
No.
Great for precision, but maybe not as efficient for large-scale manufacturing.
That's a good analogy.
Okay.
Now, capillary photoelectrochemical water splitting takes a different approach.
Right.
It focuses on creating these intricate networks of capillaries that act as super efficient light traps.
We talked about that earlier, like a field of sunflowers all tilted towards the sun.
Right.
What are the advantages of that approach?
Well, besides capturing more light, these capillary structures also help to separate the charges generated during the water splitting process.
Okay.
This reduces energy loss and boosts overall efficiency. The challenge with this technique lies in finding the right materials and fabrication methods to create these delicate structures on a large scale.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a trade-off. Flame synthesis is good for precision, but tough to scale up, while the capillary approach is great for efficiency, but tricky to manufacture.
Right.
Are there any other techniques being explored?
The research paper actually dives into some other fascinating methods.
Well,
For example, there's a technique that uses hydrogenated oxygen vacancies to enhance the photocatalytic activity of materials like titanium dioxide.
we touched on that briefly before the break.
We did.
Can you remind me, how does that work again?
Sure, it involves introducing these tiny defects into the material's structure, essentially missing oxygen atoms filled with hydrogen.
Okay.
This might sound counterintuitive, but these defects actually make the material more effective at absorbing light and facilitating the water splitting reaction.
So it's like a controlled imperfection that actually improves performance. That's pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
But I have to ask, with all these different techniques being explored, are there any clear front runners? Is there one approach that seems particularly promising for the future of solar water splitting?
It's still early days, and each technique has its own set of advantages and challenges.
Right.
It's likely that a combination of approaches will ultimately be needed to achieve widespread adoption.
Okay.
Researchers are constantly experimenting, refining techniques, and searching for new breakthroughs. It's a dynamic and rapidly evolving field.
It sounds like there's a lot of excitement and optimism in this area of research.
There is, yeah.
But I'm curious, are there any potential downsides or risks associated with this technology that we haven't discussed yet?
That's a great question, and it's important to consider the full picture.
Yeah.
One potential challenge is the environmental impact of manufacturing these nanomaterials.
Okay.
Some of the processes involved can be energy intensive and require the use of potentially hazardous chemicals.
Right.
Researchers are actively exploring ways to make the production process more sustainable and environmentally friendly.
So it's not just about the end product being clean, it's about ensuring the entire production process is sustainable as well.
Exactly. We need to consider the entire life cycle of the technology, from raw material extraction to manufacturing to disposal, to truly assess its environmental impact.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Are there any other potential downsides we should be aware of?
Another challenge lies in integrating this technology into our existing energy infrastructure.
Okay.
Right now, our energy systems are primarily designed around fossil fuels.
Right.
Transitioning to a hydrogen-based economy would require significant investments in new infrastructure, such as hydrogen pipelines, storage facilities, and refueling stations.
It's like inventing a revolutionary new car, but not having the roads to drive it on?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of public perception.
Right.
Hydrogen has sometimes been portrayed as dangerous or volatile, which can create a barrier to adoption.
Okay.
Educating the public about the safety and benefits of hydrogen is crucial for widespread acceptance.
It sounds like we're not just talking about scientific and technological challenges, but also about economic, political, and social hurdles.
You're absolutely right. It's a complex issue with many facets.
Yeah.
But I believe the potential benefits of solar-driven water splitting are significant enough to warrant continued investment and exploration.
I agree, and it's encouraging to see so much innovation and collaboration happening in this field.
It is, yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, the geopolitical implications of this technology.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that a bit? How could the development of a clean, hydrogen-based energy system impact global politics and economics?
That's a fascinating question and one with potentially far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
Right now, the global energy landscape is largely shaped by fossil fuels.
Right.
Countries with vast oil and gas reserves hold significant economic and political power. The shift towards clean energy sources like hydrogen could disrupt this balance of power.
So we're not just talking about a technological revolution, but potentially a geopolitical one as well.
Exactly. Countries that become leaders in hydrogen production and distribution could wield significant influence on the global stage.
Wow.
This could lead to new alliances, collaborations, and potentially even conflicts.
It's a lot to think about, and it highlights the fact that this technology has implications that extend far beyond the realm of science and engineering.
Absolutely. The transition to a clean energy future is a complex undertaking with far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
It requires a holistic approach that considers not only the technological advancements, but also the economic, social, and political implications.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation.
He has.
We've covered a lot of ground from the intricate workings of nanostructures to the potential for a global energy revolution.
Yeah,
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to the research paper that sparked this whole discussion.
right.
Are there any key takeaways or surprising findings from the paper that you think our listeners should keep in mind?
One thing that stood out to me was the emphasis on the need for a multifaceted approach to solar water splitting.
Okay.
The paper highlights that there's no single magic bullet solution.
Hmm.
It's going to require a combination of innovative materials, efficient fabrication techniques, and a deep understanding of the underlying chemical and physical processes to make this technology a reality.
It's not just about finding the right nanostructure. It's about optimizing every aspect of the system.
Exactly. And the paper also emphasizes the importance of continued research and development.
Right.
We're still in the early stages of understanding the full potential of nanostructures for solar water splitting.
Okay.
There's a lot more work to be done, but the progress made so far is incredibly encouraging.
It sounds like there's a lot to be excited about in this field.
Yeah,
But for now, we need to take a quick break. We'll be back in a flash to wrap up our deep dive into the world of nanostructures and solar water splitting. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the world of nanostructures and their potential to revolutionize clean energy through solar water splitting.
Yeah, it's been a really fascinating discussion.
It has.
And it's clear this technology has the potential to, reshape our energy landscape in a very profound way.
Absolutely. We've talked about the science, the challenges, the potential benefits, even the geopolitical implications. But before we wrap up, I'm curious, are there any aspects of this research that particularly surprised you or challenged your assumptions?
One thing that really struck me was just the sheer ingenuity and creativity of the researchers working in this field.
Yeah.
The paper highlights so many different approaches to solar water splitting, each with its own unique set of strengths and challenges. It's a testament to the power of human ingenuity when it comes to tackling complex problems.
Yeah. It's like a giant puzzle
Right.
where scientists are experimenting with different pieces, trying to find the perfect fit.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And the exciting thing is that we're constantly discovering new pieces and refining existing ones. The pace of innovation in this field is truly remarkable.
It makes you wonder what breakthroughs might be just around the corner.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that we've been focusing primarily on the scientific and technological aspects of solar water splitting.
Right.
What about the human element? How do you see this technology impacting people's lives in the future?
That's a crucial question, and it's one that we should always be thinking about when discussing these emerging technologies.
Right.
If solar water splitting becomes a commercially viable way to produce hydrogen, it could have a transformative impact on communities around the world.
Can you paint a picture of what that might look like?
Well, imagine a rural village in a developing country that currently lacks access to reliable electricity. With the solar water splitting system, they could generate their own clean hydrogen fuel powering homes, businesses, and even transportation. This could improve their quality of life, create economic opportunities, and reduce their reliance on those polluting energy sources.
It's incredible to think that something as simple as sunlight and water could have such a profound impact on people's lives.
It really is. And on a larger scale, the widespread adoption of solar water splitting could lead to the creation of entirely new industries and job markets.
Right.
We could see a surge in demand for skilled workers in fields like material science engineering, manufacturing, installation.
It's like the early days of the internet or the personal computer. A whole new world of possibilities opens up, and with it, a wave of economic and social change.
Exactly. And just as those technologies have revolutionized the way we live, work, interact with the world, solar water splitting has the potential to reshape our relationship with energy in a very fundamental way.
It's inspiring to think about the possibilities, but it's also important to acknowledge that any major technological shift comes with its share of challenges and uncertainties.
Sure.
What are some of the potential risks or ethical considerations we need to be mindful of as this technology develops?
Well, one important consideration is ensuring equitable access to this technology.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that the benefits of solar water splitting are shared widely and that it doesn't exacerbate existing inequalities.
So it's not just about developing the technology, it's about making sure it's deployed in the way that benefits everyone.
Precisely. And we also need to be mindful of the potential environmental impacts of large-scale hydrogen production.
Right.
While hydrogen itself is a clean fuel, the processes involved in producing, transporting, and storing it could have environmental consequences if not managed carefully.
So we need to be thinking holistically about the entire life cycle of the technology from cradle to grave.
Absolutely. Sustainability should be at the forefront of our minds as we move forward with this technology.
Well, this has been a truly eye-opening deep dive.
It has been, yeah.
We've gone from the microscopic world of nanostructures to the global implications of a clean energy revolution. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a sense of both excitement and responsibility.
I agree. It's exciting to see the potential of this technology, but it's also clear that we need to proceed thoughtfully and responsibly, ensuring that the benefits are shared widely and that we mitigate any potential risks.
As we wrap up this episode, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with us. It's been an incredible journey of discovery.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, I encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating field. The future of energy is in our hands, and it's up to all of us to shape it in a way that benefits both humanity and the planet.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll bring this deep dive to a close. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to exploring more cutting-edge science with you in the future.